Secretary Anthony Matthews here. Treasurer Brandon Schindelheim. Here. Michael Benedetto. Here. Jeffrey Ford. Excused. Molly Burst. Here. Prisoner Crawford Valeska. Arthur Dash. Here. Jack Dunlap. Excused. Gina Brashner.
Here.
Varun Karuna.
Here.
Sally Kolstad.
Here.
Darren Lopez.
Here.
Eric Manska. Here. Jill Summers. Here. Renee Trinidad. Here. Ross Turmel.
I believe he is on his way.
Cindy Wood Friedman. Michael Calvo, parliamentarian. He is not here.
He's absent. Yeah, he has a thing.
And we have two empty board seats right now. So, Mr. President, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
We have quorum. Thank you. Matthew, you're up.
We have 2 sets of minutes to approve. We have the August minutes from the last meeting. And we have the June minutes, which I can't remember whether they were approved before, but they are here now. Does everybody have copies of the minutes who wants to?
There's two.
I have copies of the minutes if anybody wants them. Any more for any more?
Secretary, please note that Mr. Trammell has arrived.
All right, I got some corrections to the one of the sets of minutes in my email, which I'm trying to look at. Jerry, was that you?
Yes, we did. With regard to the wording on the
Is that June? All right.
that is June.
So you sent me the update? All right, we'll make sure that that's in there. Okay, so we'll take the June minutes first. Are there any other comments on the June minutes?
I just don't, we don't have any wording for the motion regarding the cell tower. We don't have any wording on the amended motion. We don't have any wording on the bylaws motion. On page 6. The motion says Granada Hill South Neighborhood Council, and then says wording item.
Okay, so we have the wording for those motions in the agenda.
yeah, I sent the email with the exact wording for the item on page 7. Motion by the committee. Unfortunately, I don't have the email with me, so I'm not sure if I can read that in the record right now.
Okay, let me see if I can find that. Sorry.
And well, folks, while we're putting this together, please be aware that the food and drink up here is for the audience. It is dinner time, so please feel free. There's a number of variety of sandwiches, including vegetarian, and no out there vegetarian, and there's water and soft drinks. So please take care of them, or else I'll have to haul them back to storage unit today. And someone just brought cookies, whoever that was, thank you. So, while this is being,
Okay, I've got the, sorry, I've got
No, go ahead.
the wording right here. I've got the wording right here. You want me to read it now so I get it correctly? Okay, so Jerry wrote to me corrections regarding the June minutes. I'd like to submit wording and correction regarding the 10341 Woodley Cell Tower, page 7. Please clarify the statement by Mr. Gawarecki in the sentence beginning with, he relayed that Verizon told the church that we will repair that. Mr. Gawarecki was referring to an existing tower originally erected by AT&T, now owned by Crown Castle and fallen to disrepair. The actual motion from the committee is as follows: the Granada South Neighbourhood Council has no opposition to the proposed cell tower at 10341 North Woodley Avenue, CH 2014-1075 CUW, with the following stipulations. Number 1, require SOx to cover and improve the camouflage of the antenna elements. Number 2, require foliage to cover the CMU enclosure. Number 3, require 20-foot setback of equipment enclosure from the property line. Number 4, require maintenance of the tower to retain the quality of camouflage. This language is tentative pending any stakeholder input at the general board meeting. Possibly additional.
And I think I wrote about the motion we're in.
Okay, right. And then there was an amendment to remove the last sentence. The motion now reads, so that was the first one. The motion now reads, the Granada South Neighbourhood Council has no opposition to the proposed cell tower at 10341 North Woodley Avenue,
Don't worry.
2014-1075 CUW.
It's on the table.
Stipulation. Number 1, require SOx to cover and improve the camouflage of the antenna elements. Number 2, require foliage to cover the CMU enclosure. Number 3, require the 20-foot setback of equipment from the property line. Number 4, require maintenance of the tower to retain quality of the camouflage. So that was following the board meeting. So that would be read into the minutes on page 7. They are on the copy that, this is the copy that we just put together. Okay, so that's the correct wording. Okay, good. So I'll make sure all that stuff gets in before we, Mr. Husband.
Page 5, motion to amend, confirm. This is down there regarding the discussion of hiring somebody to help with the bookkeeping and the minute taking for the meetings. We don't have the verbiage there of that motion.
Do we have the wording of that amendment?
And then if you concur, my recollection is that we moved $9,000 from one category to another to cover
And that was approved, I can provide. It's on the website. Okay, so Mr. Cosman, what specifically is your question here?
I want to know the exact verbiage of the motion that was made on the funding of the $9,000.
Well,
There's no.
Sir, these are minutes. By definition, they're not exact transcripts. We do not have a stenographer, and we're not in court. So, this is what we have, and it's being reviewed and revised before your very eyes. So, you're not gonna get a direct transcript. Anthony, are we done?
I think so. I'm fine with that part.
I believe that happened above the call for the question, though. Because the call for the question would have terminated all discussion, including amendments, so that motion to amend occurred right after the discussion.
Yeah, David, do you know who the motion to amend was by?
No, that's what. If it was about the 9,000.
Anybody recall the second?
Because gee, I don't know, yeah, 2 months ago, actually, it was Mr. Master, I think that's what he's indicating.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so that was passed 11 in favor. All right, is there any other comment on the June minutes?
There's a page 6 motion from the bylaws committee. It says the Granada South Neighborhood Council insists confirm wording. I believe that the intent there was to copy down the wording from above, which is to accept the changes to the bylaws. To adopt the January 26th bylaws. Eric, I'll refer to you since that was your grant.
Oh, yeah, that was to, this was procedural. The Dunn and Bunk had already made these corrections. We had never voted on them, but this was just procedure to say that we approve the changes. Remember, they struck the factual basis. It's no longer a seat, any of Dunn's language, and so that was moved. That was to be struck from that. That's what that implied.
I'm looking on the June agenda to see if I can find the actual wording.
The wording in the first paragraph of that section in the minutes is directly from the agenda.
Oh, okay.
That's not my wording, that's copied from the agenda.
Exactly.
That was also the bylaws that we had, and that was voted on here, yes, and they said to webmaster.
Yeah, exactly. It was changed by Dunn and Bunk, dated January 26, 2014. We had never voted on that change, but just as precaution, we just went ahead and we made a motion to have that, struck from our bylaws.
I think that we approved like the whole bylaws again because of the issue of it, so I think the whole bylaws.
Yeah, because, well, they had went ahead and made some changes that was citywide for all the neighborhood councils, and that was one of them. Yeah, minutes are correct.
All right. Okay, is that,
We went to adopt the minutes as or is that your job?
I think it's fine. Sean.
Okay,
You can
I'll second.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor to approve the June minutes as amended in front of your very eyes. Motion by me, seconded by Jerry. All in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, if any? Abstentions?
I'm abstaining, so it wasn't that.
I would say also. also, as well as part of that meeting. Okay. We're now moving to the August. We're now moving to the August minutes draft. You have a copy of those. This is from the immediately previous board meeting. Any comments or questions on the August 7th minutes? Hearing none, I will put the motion to a vote. I will propose that we adopt the August 7th minutes as printed. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Sorry? Okay, so I've got a question. Well, I'm being constant, I think I just said it. Okay, no, any nays? No abstentions? Two. Greshka, Askew, Varuna. So I will declare those minutes approved as written. Mr. President, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Obviously, this took a little longer than it usually does because we've got some personnel issues, so thank you for bearing with us. Okay, the next item on the agenda is public comment. This is community and public comment on non-agenda items. Public may present concerns to the board on any issue of interest to the community. Board will not be able to discuss or take action on any matters brought during comment. However, issues raised during public comment may be agendized for discussion at a future board meeting. If you can, we ask for the speaker's card, just leave it on the table. If not, please come forward. We have one speaker card.
One speaker card.
Okay, you go first.
Linda Williamson. Hey, Linda. All there.
Hello. I'm sure all of you know by now that I am working towards an application for Granada Hills to participate in the City of Los Angeles' People Street Plaza program, to build a plaza at the corner of Chatsworth and Zelza. And in my update is that in the course of my research on the business impacts of these projects, I went to Sunset Triangle Plaza and interviewed fronting business owners in that area. I am pleased to tell you that if you're interested in seeing those interviews, and you can get the information directly from the horse's mouth on these video interviews with business owners, you can go to the Giga Granada Hills YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com and search under Giga Granada Hills. It's all there on a playlist where we talk to business owners and the community partner. One fronting business owner reported that when they installed a plaza in front of her business, her cafe's business went up by 20%. And they also reported that in the area, graffiti went down because it brought people to the area, made it more of a central gathering place. And so there were more people naturally in the area looking out for things such as graffiti and loitering and things like that. And that sort of thing went down. So it was generally a positive for their community, which is why they decided to go from the temporary project to finalizing it and making it permanent after their trial period. So again, that is youtube.com, look under Giga Granada Hills, and please have a look at all those interviews with business owners. Thank you.
I'll just do it. I know it is. Mr. Reed. Sorry.
You caught him with a mouthful.
Not intentional.
My name is Mark Reed. I'm the elected congressional candidate for the West San Fernando Valley. I've spoken in front of this board a couple of times. I'm a lifelong resident of the valley as well. I'm going to touch kind of a couple of subjects that are of strong interest for me, which I've been working on in the valley if I'm elected to the valley itself. Two issues. One is our water issue. Most of you know that there's a major drought going on. What you don't know is, or you may have read in the LA Times, that California has a 63 trillion gallon watershed every year. The bond measure that's coming up is a $7.5 billion bond measure with $2.3 billion for the entire state to capture some of this water. There's nothing that's coming to the San Fernando Valley unless DWP applies for an $800 billion carve out of this bond, which we'll have to pay back. The reason why this is kind of a major interest to me is because in the San Fernando Valley, it's a gigantic underground aquifer. They've already estimated it's 1 billion gallons of water leaves. Of 1 inch of rain, 1 billion gallons of water heads out to the ocean without being stopped to replenish our aquifer. They don't replenish the aquifer primarily because there's 61 wells here. 31 of the wells have been poisoned by NASA, by Rocketdyne, and Boeing, and so forth over the years. Brad Sherman, the incumbent, promised to bring $600 million back 4 years to actually build the filtration systems to filter this water out so we can use it. It hasn't been done. You're going to get double jeopardy now. They're going to borrow the money from the state, put the filtration systems in, you're going to pay that back to the DWP. DWP is then going to pay it back to the state. And you as taxpayers of the state are going to pay the state back for these bonds as well. The other one, LA Times came out with another article stating that California is the leaders in manufacturing. That Long Beach, LA, and Santa Ana are the #1 manufacturers in the United States of America. I did my research on this. If you go back to 1990, we had 1,100,000 manufacturing jobs in Los Angeles. A lot of them right here in the San Fernando Valley. However, now we have 504,000 manufacturing jobs. The quality of jobs that were there back in the 1990s was high-skilled, high-paying jobs. The quality of manufacturing jobs we have now are low-skilled, medium-range paid jobs that are not long-range in career. So I want to work on bringing back this economy to the San Fernando Valley with a lot of research and development and manufacturing. You can visit my website at markreedforcongress.com. I'm going to pass out a flyer and some cards as well. Mike Antonovich has endorsed me. The Reagans are behind me. I have endorsements on both sides of the aisle, going all the way up to national figures. I'll be happy to answer any questions if there's a minute for that, or one question. Anyone have a burning question?
I think you've satisfied their interest.
Thank you very much.
Any other public comment on non-agenda items?
Yes, we do.
You're in office.
I didn't know where to put it.
Well, that's fine. I actually just bring you in if you want, but
Okay, wherever you want me to speak,
thank you. Appreciate it. Any other public comment from non-elected office holders or appointed office holders? Mr. Dave Bouvet, President, former President.
Thank you. Happy to be back in the San Fernando Valley after being gone about 6 weeks on an extended vacation. Sure. I just wanted to put in a plug for the Granada Hill Street Fair, which is coming back after 4 years of absence, October 11th. That's a Saturday. We met on Tuesday. Richard Fisk over there is also on. Is also on the committee, and we had also, I think, close to a dozen people on that meeting. So we've got a good-sized committee. We had representatives from the fire department Tuesday night, so we talked a little bit about the requirements there and the logistics. I want to thank the council for their support, and also to ask you to consider volunteering the day up. In any capacity that you feel like you can. Eric's volunteered in the past to help us with traffic control. It's not necessary to be there for the whole day. If you want to help at the beginning or help in the middle, help at the end, that would certainly be appreciated. If you want to do that, contact our parliamentarian, Mike Abel, at the chamber, or his number is published in also, I think, in our, you can reach him through our council. So, October 11th, keep it in mind.
Thank you for that. Gentlemen, do you come out to make a request to speak, or?
Oh, public comment? No, thanks. Thanks for asking, though, Mr. Smith.
Thank you. All right, any additional public comment? Seeing none, thank you. Okay, community speakers, we usually have representatives or of our electeds or appointeds, and with all due respect, Billy, We have a commissioner who was kind enough to come out here to the hinterlands. You sure? Okay, just following the rank here. Okay. Come on down.
Thank you very much.
You want my name, please? People behind.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lily Jones. I'm a field deputy for Councilmember Mitchell Englander, and I'm here filling in for Tanya this evening since she had some illness in her family and was unable to be here. Just a few things that I will mention to you. Some of you that were at the Chamber of Commerce on Tuesday heard these before. But the city will be implementing a administrative citation program fairly soon. It's called the ACE program. It is going to be a pilot program starting with the Department of Animal Services and LAPD. It's basically to cite for the abuse of good neighbor issues. It's an alternative method to enforcement of violations of the municipal court through criminal action. You would not go to jail, you would not go to have probation, that sort of thing. But you could get fined for abuses of a number of the sort of quality of life issues. There is a list on the city's website of a whole bunch of different things that could be cited. Construction noise that would start before 7 a.m. in the morning and go past 9 p.m. Illegal vending, posting of a refuse sign on public streets, alleys, public property without permission, vehicle repairs in restricted areas, number of animal control regulations, harboring menacing or dangerous dogs without leash, number of things like that. So that's going to be coming on fairly soon. There will be an appeals process for the ACE program. The citation fees will start out at $100 for failure to comply, and their reciting can go up 4 times $1,000. You probably saw the announcement that the mayor has proposed an increase in the minimum wage from $13.25 to $13.25 over the course of 3 years. There is no proposal on the table for this. This is expected to come along in a few weeks. Councilman Englander has asked that the neighborhood councils give feedback to him. We discussed this a little bit at the Chamber of Commerce, and I got some excellent feedback on Tuesday regarding this. But it's, I think it's a pretty critical issue that affects the economy, affects business, and so I'm sure neighborhood councils will be asked to take a position on this as it moves down the road, as the proposal is formulated, as you look into it. So just keep that in mind and be prepared to share some of your thoughts with the council. For those of you that might not know, the San Fernando Valley Rescue Mission just recently had a ribbon cutting, and Councilman shared in that event along with some of the staff just a couple of weeks ago. They now have permanent offices over on Darby and Northridge, and they will be having permanent housing when that building is complete, which is just around the corner, and that will be in March sometime. So a lot of the folks in the communities have supported the rescue mission following the fire, and this is something that I'd like to share with you guys. The city's going to be moving ahead with a traffic signal at the intersection of Yarmouth and Chatsworth. I think some of you are aware of that. Following the flashing beacon, there were still some issues raised in the community about public safety issues there, and a traffic study was done. It bears out that there are warrants to justify putting a signal there. So we're going to go on that later. Also, construction on the traffic signal on Balboa at the Knollwood Plaza is expected to finish construction in about 2 or 3 weeks. The councilman will be having a ribbon cutting of that signal whatever we say. Opening, grand opening of the traffic signal. We want to make sure that we get notices out to all the neighborhood councils and to the community in general. Don't have a date on it yet. It probably will be, I'm guessing, in about 3 weeks, and we will be getting notices out, so we hope to show up for that. Don't want to leave anyone out on that. There's a couple staff changes I wanted to mention. Many of you've known David Kenlis, who's been to some of the meetings, and he has been called up in the military, so he is going to be leaving the council office, as is Jessie Levine. Many of you have gotten to know Jessie. She's handled urban forestry issues, she's handled your animal issues, animal services issues, and she is leaving. Tomorrow is her last day, and she's leaving to go to London to, she was accepted in London to live economics. We're gonna miss Jessie a great deal. Jonathan Koto is going to be doing the majority of her work, I understand, and so you'll be working with Jonathan on a number of issues, I'm sure. Hold the date for October 25th. That's going to be a drive-in movie night. The location is not yet pinned down. The movie is, but it's a complete secret and sworn to secrecy. But it sounds like a real fun evening with the community, so we hope you plan to come on out and we can get more information to you. And then I have a plea for the board here. Conversations with council that Councilman Englander puts on 2 or 3 times a year is going to be meeting Thursday, September the 18th at the Rancho San Antonio Boys Town. That's over on Plummer Street, just west of DeSoto. There's a change in time. They usually start at 4 o'clock, and this time it's going to start at 4:30. Valley Traffic Division and the Department of Transportation are going to be featured on conversations, discussions this time. I think it'll be really good. I hope you folks will come out. I was sent here to extract a promise that we'll have a great turnout from Granada Hills South. So please get some reservations in, or let me know before I leave tonight. We'll look forward to seeing you there. Let's see, unless you have, I'm going to leave this for you, unless anyone has any questions, I think I'll conclude on that. Mark?
No, it's easy. The penalties and the fines for the ACE program, is there going to be, like on traffic tickets, you have the penalty assessment on top of it, 261% of it, are we going to do that with those fines? Or is it just going to be a straight fine?
I'm not sure if there's going to be an interest on that or not,
Not that they're non-compliant. Once they determine that you're in violation, they're going to charge you $100 fine.
$100 for the first fine.
Yeah.
Second fine would be $250. Third one would be $500. Fourth one would be $1,000. I don't know any more specifics on any additional fees or that would be added.
I know you've never gotten traffic tickets.
Added on to that.
I've gotten a couple traffic tickets. $100 traffic ticket fine, so that's about $360.
Okay, and I think you had said this isn't even really quite the rollout stage yet.
Not yet. I will look through some of the paperwork if there's anything else that I can see on that. There is an appeals process, and it's going to be handled through the city attorney's office.
Is that publicly posted, or is it not posted anywhere until it's solidified?
It is posted. You can find it on the city website. If you go under your advanced search for ACE, ACE, or the Administrative Citation Program, it should bounce up. There was one that was like a year old, but there is another one, and let me see here. I have a different council file number than I had the other day. Try this. It came up on the website for me this afternoon. It's council file 14-0818. Anything else?
I have a good question.
Yes, sir.
On the minimum wage proposed increase, I understanding that it's gonna go up every year until 2017. And,
That's what I saw in the newspaper, 3 years.
and then at that point, it's still going to increase, adjusted for cost of living. Is that correct?
Again, I can't speak to that because as Councilman Calendar was reminding all of his staff members at our staff meeting this morning, there's nothing in writing on it yet that has been disseminated. There has not been a proposal circulated for the council to look at. That's supposed to come along. Now, obviously, the mayor has information, it's based on the study, there's been a study out, but in terms of formulating anything based on that study, we don't have those details.
I heard on the radio, so
I heard the president.
why wouldn't you guys have the same information?
You heard on the radio that
That is increasing from 2017.
17, I saw that. I saw that.
And then after that, there's going to be a indefinite increase every year for cost of living.
Well, let's wait and see what the proposal says, if that's going to be included in the proposal. I think there's a lot of things that may, come out as a result of the study.
right?
But it has not gone to council, there's nothing.
Right, but that.
But there's a lot of, I think there's a lot of serious things out there, a lot of things.
Thank you very
But
much.
we will, I'm sure, next month, we should have the council file for you by that time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Officer Del Torre is not here this evening, but we do have, Bond, Commissioner Lydia Grant. And I'm sure she will have a short update for us, because she appreciates what it's like to get going and do this.
Yes, I do, but I also have some updates for you, so bear with me, I will talk as fast as I can, and I'm actually pretty good at that. The first thing I want to touch on is the new posting policy. First I should introduce myself, because most people probably don't know who I am. I am Lydia Grant, I am one of the mayor's appointees to a commission here in the city of Los Angeles. I'm on the board of the neighborhood commissioners, we oversee the neighborhood council system across the city. I am specifically in charge of region, the North Valley region, which covers Summerlin, Hunga to Chatsworth, down the panorama city. I see Kim shaking her head. So we create the policies that the neighborhood councils follow. The commission is 7 commissioners, and we all represent one of the regions, and together we create policies that the neighborhood councils follow. So I do have some policy updates I need to update you on. One of them is the posting policy. And we've done some changes to the posting policy, and what I want to do is make sure that all of you get it, so I will send it out to you individually, all board members. And I want to ask a question. How many of you are not receiving my newsletters? I have been sending them out to the board. Are you all receiving them? If you are not receiving them, then you need to make sure that your board roster is updated, because I'm sending them out to the board rosters. And there's a lot of things coming up, and I do try to update you on things, so you need to make sure that your email address is right in the roster. So one of the important things about the posting policy that's new is remembering that you do not have to post in 5 physical locations. You have to post in one Brown Act compliant, ADA accessible posting location. But you do also need to send each committee and board member board agendas to the early notification system. And at the same time that you send it to your board members, it needs to go out to your mail list, your email list. So that's all I'm going to say on the posting policy. Please make sure you follow it, and we will go ahead and I'll make sure that each of you gets a copy of it so you know exactly what is on it. The second thing I want to mention is the Congress of Neighborhood Councils. That's going to be held at City Hall on September 20th. It is coming up soon. The registration is open already, but I did want to let you know that not all the session workshops have been spelled out who's presenting or necessarily what's going to be taught. So I wouldn't sign up yet. I'd wait like another week just to make sure we don't forget to sign up. I actually do 2 sessions if you're interested. One of those is political etiquette and how to build credibility for yourself and your council. And the other one I'm working with is the Board of Public Works Roundtable. So those are the 2 that I'm doing. There's about 25 different sessions to choose from. It's all the event, breakfast, lunch, and 3 sessions, plus meet your city officials. So that will be September 20th. Starts early. Make sure that you sign up so that we have you counted so that we feed you properly. Third, community impact statements. I know that you mentioned it earlier, so I want to give you guys some updates on that. one of the policies that we're currently working on is the way community impact statements are done with the city. And the way that is we have the option as neighborhood council to vote for or against, and we can put in language if we'd like to add something. The new policy that we're working to get city council to pass, has been passed through the commission already, is the opportunity to do it like the California League of Cities, where we actually have 6 options: for, against, for it if this is added or changed to, against unless this is it. So that we have a little more flexibility in how we do it. We think it's gonna be better for outreaching to the community. Community impact statements are a huge way to outreach to the community. By, if it's animal issues, you specifically target not only your community, but the veterinarians and the rescues and things in your community to help bring in more people. So it's gonna be a great way to outreach, and we're hoping that we get that pushed through pretty quickly. The last 2 things are websites. We are working on a policy to update how the websites are done so that we make sure that every neighborhood council has a button on their page that says Empower Our Life, so their community knows they can push there to get information about the system, what should be on your website basically. They're gonna be very simple, nothing extraordinary, but not all neighborhood councils have the similar buttons, so we need to make sure that's updated. And the last thing I'm gonna talk about, except for a couple of dates, is that what started out as sexual harassment, sexism training, that the neighborhood council were worried they were all going to have to do mandatory training on that. We have changed that. We are working on the policy right now. It will not be a mandatory training. The first step, we actually will be voting finally on this next month. We had it before us at the commission meeting last night, before last. And that is that if somebody is being bullied or harassed, or you're all going to sign as a board member a paper that says these are the behaviors we expect from you. If you should violate that, then you would have to take the training. But it's not going to be that the entire board may have a hand. It's not that the entire board is going to have to take this mandatory training. There will be a step process. We're only working on the first phase, step 1. That's how the city attorney's asked us to do the policy. So we are working on it, and we don't think that it is as punitive as the neighborhood councils were worried that would be. It started out that way, and there was so much feedback from people both sides. But we felt this was a way to make it fairer, so that people who weren't doing anything wrong would be punished or need to do the training. Last thing I'm going to mention is a couple of dates besides the Congress on the 20th. There's also for the president a roundtable with the city attorney on Monday night. You need to remember that. Also, you should have a legal liaison. Whoever on your board is going to be representative to the city attorney's office. If there's any correspondence, it can't be the president. It might be the secretary. It's up to you what you want to do with that. Also,
we have a nice lawyer on the board.
okay, as long as you guys have somebody, that's fine. I just want to make sure that you guys are covered, because a lot of neighborhood councils didn't know they needed that. Also, the Valley Alliance of Neighborhood Councils, we always like to have somebody representing your neighborhood council there. They are holding a county supervisor forum on October 9th. It will be sent out when that will be. Also, there's going to be a regional budget day on October 11th. That is likely going to be held at the Browdy Center, and that is for the budget advocates and the budget representatives to hear from everybody what they want to see the city budget to look like, where they think money should be spent. So be thinking about that, write it up, send it to your neighborhood council, send it to the department, send it to budget advocates. The website for Empower LA is empowerla.org, and we want to make sure that as much of your input as what you think should happen gets included. So that regional budget day will be on the 11th of October. And empowerla.org, we also have a list of any of the things I'm talking about. There is a calendar in it. It does list the upcoming events. And last but not least, the Valley Alliance of Neighborhood Councils is also putting together a planning forum on November 13th. And that is on planning and land use issues for the whole entire valley, for people who are interested in the latest update. So I'm sorry it went on a long time, but I did have a lot of updates. And if you have any questions, let me give you my information. It is Lydia Grant. My email is Lydia, Lydia, Jean, Jean, @gmail.com. And my phone number is 818-470-6629. And that is my cell phone. So I'm always available if you have any questions on that. 818-470-6629.
Lydia, I do have a question for you. We've had feedback from stakeholders when we were blasting out the agendas that they didn't want to receive them, and we've had people drop off the mailing list. We were working on setting up a mechanism where people could opt in or out of the agendas, but it's been suggested that we don't have that choice, that we must send it to every stakeholder on our mailing list regardless of whether they want to receive it or not. And the stakeholder's only option is to remove themselves entirely from the email list. Is that the intention of the done policy?
No, it wasn't the intention, but we understand that it's a circumstance. It was actually brought up at the commission meeting 2 nights ago. It wasn't something that had been considered as a potential consequence. So we're gonna work on that, and we'll work on that right away. There are some things like opting out and things like that. The other thing is you don't necessarily have to post the agenda. It says in the policy that you can post a link to it, so you don't necessarily have to send out. But we'll have to figure that out, and I'm really apologize for that, because it was something, we just had so many people complaining they weren't getting the information. We had to make a policy to make sure they did. So that is one of the issues that we will be addressing soon.
No, the current wording says that the council may send out to the mailing list, so we've interpreted that.
That may
allow
is
some-
if, they may send it, if you have a mailing list, it needs to be sent out. Unfortunately, that was verbiage that the city attorneys gave us, but it doesn't work well because it still then gives neighbor council option whether they want to tell their community or not. And that was not the intent of the policy. The intent of the policy is to make sure that everybody who's interested in what's going on in their community has that information. So we may have to think of a way to streamline it so that everybody doesn't have to get everyone if they don't choose to. But it just got brought up to us. Our meeting was Tuesday night, so we just got the information, so I'll ask them to be put on this month's agenda.
Yeah, I had these written out and I distributed them amongst all
Thank you.
directors.
This is the
I noted,
new one.
and I did notice that it did not have a date on it at all.
Are you talking about is that the posting policy or the
No,
harassment policy?
it's the code of conduct
That's
policy.
the one okay. So what happened was, the only reason we didn't vote on it was because that date was the question. And the reason the date is the question is because we have to decide, all of you need to sign the paper. You need to sign it within 30 days of being seated, you need to sign it within 60 days, is there a penalty of after 90? We have to put that guideline in, and because they hadn't made a decision before we got there, we didn't want to waste time discussing it because we had so many people, we had over an hour public comment, so we didn't want to take away from those to discuss that. So we'll be discussing it next time.
Okay, so there is no.
That has not been officially voted on yet.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Appreciate it. Okay, generally at this point, we move forward through the different items. Sorry. But I have had a request to move something up. I'd like to move item 8, that's Roman 8, committee report, number 6, plan and land use up. And I will hand that to Mr. Askew.
Thank you. This item is regarding the cell tower at 10341 Woodley, just north of Devonshire, and the appeal that's been filed. I was at a meeting today with some of the residents from the area, the representative from Verizon, and also the church pastor. And there are talks that are in the works. And actually, John, if you have just a moment, I'd like if you can summarize quickly what we covered.
Yeah, I'm John Cheese, neighborhood homeowner and stakeholder, and this afternoon I met with representatives, as Mr. Askew said, and we have had the precursor to entering into negotiations regarding possible compromise, change of location, movement of equipment, and a few other requests that we had as neighbors, and the representative from Verizon is agreeable to entering negotiations. So we would like Mr. Askew to postpone entering a change of decision or backing up the existing decision while we are negotiating with Verizon.
So I'll add to that the appeal hearing had originally been scheduled for October 2nd, which is actually the date of our next council meeting. And realizing that would leave us without the opportunity to have input in it, I made a request that be postponed. It's my understanding, and the representative from Verizon confirmed, that it's been pushed to a date to at least October 26th, if not beyond probably around December
December
4th, I think you said. So, my feeling is that we don't need to make the decision now. The talks are in progress, and I want to put in a motion to postpone this item to our next meeting and see where we're at there. Do I have a second? Second. Seconded by Eric Masker. Any discussion? Any public comment? Jill, any comment on that, or are we all in agreement?
I just want to make sure that what we just talked about does get entered into the minutes on record. Okay.
Right there. Ross?
So, do all the people that live near the tower agree to this?
We haven't made any agreements. I was asked to represent.
Delay.
Yeah, right, is that what the question was?
Yeah.
Agreeing to delaying it? Yeah, we all emailed each other and then agreed that John would represent the feelings of the community. And so the idea of the fact of delaying makes everybody happy because it gives us an opportunity to negotiate. So it's a positive thing for us. Thank you.
Yeah, I had no negative feedback from any of the neighbors.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, call the vote. All in favor of postponing, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you.
I do have one question on the June 4th minutes though, because it's not clear on the agenda of the June 4th minutes if it's approved or not, going back to June 4th.
I don't know if you walked in after we were talking about that, but there was language that was clarified and our secretary read that out, but it was essentially what I read out at the plum meeting the other night. Okay.
Thank you all very much. We certainly appreciate the issues that brought you forward to talk with us, and we're glad you're here. We realize that we're here all the time for issues in the community, so please stay involved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, rolling back to the agenda, board issues and updates. And actually, for those folks who are concerned about their neighborhood, here's something that's important. We have 2 open seats. I would love to have someone who demonstrated their commitment to the community to come forward and ask to be appointed to one of them. They are the community organizations, which by definition implies involvement in existing community organizations, and the faith-based seat, which by definition implies involvement in faith-based institutions. So please think about that, and we'd love to have more people on board because we need all the help we can get. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 2, okay, review of monthly expenditure report. I'm going to give this to Mr. Schimmelheim, and he's going to present.
So I'm gonna read off the minor changes. Since, last month, or during the month of August, to our budget. There was a, $850 for 2 grandstands for July. It's already accounted for in the July budget. Something that will hit the website virtual office budget line under the